कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. So the master's conversation with Vijay Goswami. So master continues with his conversation. Even after attaining samadhi, some return the servant ego or the devotee ego. The bhakta keeps this I consciousness. He says, O God, thou art the master and I am thy servant. Thou art the Lord and I am thy devotee. He feels that way even after the realization of God. His I is not completely effaced. Again, by constantly practicing this kind of I consciousness, one ultimately attains God. This is called Bhakti Yoga. So this is the idea which we will find can be wonderfully understood, very, very nicely understood with the help of the various stages of samadhi, as has been described in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. So there are 4 types of samadhi actually. First is the Savija Savikalpa Samadhi, and then Nirvija Savikalpa Samadhi, and then Savija Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and then Nirvija Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So what are these? The first is actually Samadhi Matram, then Savikalpa Samadhi, and then Nirvija Nirvikalpa Samadhi, followed by Nirvija Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So let us try to understand these 4 stages. So when we are a novice, for the first time we have started meditating, we will find that it is very difficult to focus our mind, as we are not habituated with the process of meditation. We never try to keep the mind in one thought. So what we find that when we start, that though now and then we may attain a state of ekagrata, that concentration, but it very easily breaks. We again go to that state of distraction. The various thoughts come and start assailing us. That why this happens? That though in our conscious mind we are trying to keep our mind fixed in one thought, our subconscious mind is full of sarvarthata, distracted thoughts. Thousands of thoughts are there. So though consciously I am trying to keep the mind focused, from the subconscious mind, all those thoughts, just like the bubbles in the water, they come up to the surface of the water. The surface of the water, the surface of the mind is just like the conscious mind, and it breaks the state of focus. So as the subconscious mind is full of all those varied vrittis, they come and just break the state of concentration. But as we try to keep our mind focused more and more, our mind starts transforming. That in Yoga Sutra is called parinama. The mind starts transforming. What happens? The more and more the ekagrata vritti, that now starts saturating the subconscious mind. Anything which enters through the conscious mind goes and gets deposited in the subconscious mind. Nothing is lost. So previously the mind was full of distracted thoughts. Now this ekagra vritti, that starts concentrating the mind. It starts concentrating the mind. And this sarvarthata, all the distraction thoughts, they start getting reduced. So a state comes when, then what happens? This sarvarthata will take us to the state of samadhi matram. That one day my mind is so focused, so intensely focused. There is again quality in the focus. At the beginning, the focus, though I was focused, but still a part of the mind was aware of other things because the focus was not that intense. As we will find in our day-to-day life, the more our focus is intense, the more other things start falling off. So a time comes that when my mind is now getting very much concentrated, a time comes that still my mind have some distracted thoughts, but now the ekagra vritti, the conscious, this focused thought, the one thought on which I am meditating, that is prevalent, that is prevailing my mind. And as a result, when I have a meditation for quite a long time, my mind doesn't get distracted and it gets so focused that at last even the idea that I am this body-mind consciousness, that also falls off. The ego also falls off. And that takes us to the state of samadhi matram. For the first time, I am experiencing a state where I have become one with the object of meditation. But at the same time, it is for the first time my subconscious mind is yet to be cleansed. So what happens? Though I have attained that state, but still the subconscious mind, the distracted thoughts, they come and break that state of samadhi matram. So now if he continues with his meditation, still he doesn't stop there. This time will come when all the distractive thoughts, they are washed away and the mind is full of that ekagra vritti or the ishta vritti. When that happens and when the mind enters again into the state of samadhi, it becomes as if one with the object of meditation. From that, even if it comes back, it remains in that state of ekagrata. That there is a varied degree of ekagrata. Thus, though he is coming back again to the state of ekagrata, but that is not that intense as if the ego has fallen off. You will find in the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even in the life of Ramakrishna, we will find that when devotional singing is going on, now and then they go to a state of antarmukh in samadhi. And then their body becomes still, they are just as if motionless, they have no external sensations. The external world has become something oblivious for them. And then they again come back to the state of consciousness where they again start singing, again start dancing. So this antaramukh, ardhavaya dasha, bahya dasha, these three, they will be continuing. Now, when the mind becomes so saturated with that your ishta vritti, as we have mentioned previously also, that the mind cannot remain just with one thought. If your mind becomes concentrated with one thought, a time will come, the mind will reach a state of thoughtlessness. Why? Because the polarity has been resolved. In this world, everything which flows, everything is flowing. Why it is flowing? Because there is polarity. Water flows. Why it flows? Because there is a difference in level. It flows from the higher level to the lower level. If both the levels are same, water won't flow. Electricity flows when there is a difference in the potential. If both the ends have same potential, there is no current. Same with magnetism. Everywhere we find when the polarity is resolved, the flow stops. The same thing happens with the mind. The mind is mind. The mind is a flow. The mind is mind as long as it is jumping from thought to thought. If we are able to keep the mind in one thought, then it is bound to go to the state of thoughtlessness. So when our state of samadhi becomes very ripened, then the third state comes, where now and then we will be going to the state of thoughtlessness. the state of Nirodha. That's the state of that Nirvikalpa Samadhi. But that is Savija. Why Savija? Though my mind has entered into a state of thoughtlessness, I mean the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but my subconscious mind is full of Ishtavritti. That for such a long time I have been meditating, and that has become the natural state of my mind. So subconscious mind is full of that. No more destructive thoughts are there. They have already been washed away, but it is full of that Ekavritti. Now when for the first time I go to the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, this Ekavritti, the Ishta consciousness, the Ishta Vritti, that after some time comes up, because that is the thing which is saturating the subconscious mind. That comes up and breaks the state of this Nirvikalpa Samadhi. That's why the third state is called Savija. Still the seed is there, Savija Nirvikalpa Samadhi. If someone goes on even intensifying his meditation, so that the state of thoughtlessness becomes the natural state of his existence, and that state starts saturating his subconscious mind to wash away the Ishtavritti, then he enters into the state of Nirvija Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and there is no coming back from that state. Now you will understand that what Master is saying is the state between this is a state of Savija Nirvikalpa Samadhi. That a devotee, through his Ishtavritti, now and then goes to the state of this Nirvikalpa Samadhi. From the Samadhis goes to the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but again, with the help of the idea that he is a devotee, with the help of Ishtavritti, again he comes down to the state of this Ekagrata, this one Ishtavritti, that only one thought, the thought of the Ishta, in that he comes back. You will find very interesting that when we want to meditate, we take the help of the name of the chosen deity. That's the general tradition, almost in all the traditions, that we have our Ishta. With the help of the chosen deity, we try to focus our mind. But in the life of Ramakrishna, we will find if you read this gospel, now and then he is going into Samadhi, and again the devotional singing or the name of the Lord is bringing him again back to the state of this normal consciousness. What it speaks of? That his mind is now oscillating in that state of Savija Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Though it is going to that Nirvikalpa Samadhi, as his subconscious mind is saturated with the thought of the Ishta. So that's the thing that bubbles up and breaks the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi to bring him back to the world of me and thou, the duality. So now let us again read these words of Sri Ramakrishna to understand that what the real purport of those words are, the real significance of these words, what his words are. Even after attaining Samadhi, some attain the servant ego or the devotee ego. So they are not totally washing off that Ishta Vritti, that my relation with the Ishta is what? That I am the servant of the Lord, or I am a devotee of the Lord. So this is that the thing with which my relation with the Lord is maintained. That speaks of the idea of limited individuality, but it is saturated only with the thought of the divine. So they retain that. They don't want to wash it off to go to that state of Nirvija Nirvikalpa Samadhi from where there is no comeback. So the Bhakta keeps this eye consciousness. He says, O God, thou art the master and I am thy servant. Thou art the Lord and I am thy devotee. He feels that way even after the realization of God. So though he has gone, that realization of God, what it indicates? He has attained the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but it is Savija. Though he goes to the state of that thoughtlessness, but his mind, subconscious mind is saturated with the Ishtavritti. So with that bubbles up again. And that again brings him back to the realm of me and thou, my Lord, I am. So he feels that way even after the realization of God. His eye is not completely effaced. Again, by constantly practicing this kind of eye consciousness one ultimately attains God. So see here also that do two things, Aruruksha and Yogarura. The one who is yet to attain that state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So for him, he has to resort to the Ishtavritti. But a devotee, when he goes to the state of Samadhi, to come down from that state, again he has to resort to that Ishtavritti. So Ishtavritti is the thing which is there for the devotee who doesn't want to merge in the absolute, who wants to enjoy the bliss of communion with the divine. So he goes to and fro. Sri Ramakrishna in some other context has indicated it is called Baj Khala, like as if a fish likes to swim from one bank of the river to the other, and again they will come back. So they go on the swimming just as if it's a play for them from one bank to the other. This is called Baj Khala. The fish sometimes just play that way. They will be swimming from one bank to the other and again coming back. So that's how the devotee, though now and then is going to that state, but he immediately with the help of Ishtavritti comes back again to that state. If you just try to understand that famous sentence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that also indicates that ami chini hote chai na, chini khete chai. That I want to test the sugar, I don't want to become the sugar. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is indicating. That what it is, that if there is a state where you can become the sugar, but I don't want. I'm a devotee. I want to enjoy the communion with the divine, the bliss that comes from the communion of the divine. So I want to enjoy that state. So I want to bring back my mind again to the state of I consciousness, but it doesn't go to the worldly level because it has already been washed off. I have already washed off my mind from all those distracted thoughts. So it comes down and stays only in the Ishtavritti, where I am, my Lord is, and is this relation they enjoy. So that's the state of a devotee who has went to that Nirvikalpa Samadhi. There is no way he can again come back to the state of worldliness. Never. So he can come down. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna used to say, a adept dancer it will have a false step. It will never step out of rhythm. A adept dancer never steps out of rhythm. So what it means that for him, that state has become a spontaneous state because his mind is not pure. It is only full of God consciousness. So at the most it comes down to the level of that. It goes to the Samadhi and comes back to that. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna is indicating. One can attain the knowledge of Brahman too by following the path of bhakti. So the same thing, that how they can attain the knowledge of Brahman? That as we told, that one thought that the mind can never stay in that one thought. It goes to the state of thoughtlessness. And when you go to the state of thoughtlessness, the mind collapses for the time being as if. And how we see this world, it is Brahman and Brahman alone, which in association with the mind is appearing as this world of name and form. That example which we give again and again, the sun, the rays of the sun, when passes through the prism, breaks into the spectrum of the 7 colors. You remove the prism and the spectrum, where it will go? It will merge in the white light. So when through the help of Ishtabhritti, through bhakti, when one has attained intense bhakti, now and then he will be going to the state where the mind falls off, thoughtlessness. Thoughtlessness means no more the mind is there. And he experiences that his oneness with that absolute. But again, he can come back from that state. God is all powerful. He may give his devotee Brahmajnana also if he so wills. But the devotee generally doesn't seek the knowledge of absolute. He would rather have the consciousness that God is the master and he the servant, or that God is the divine mother and he the child. So that's what we were discussing. So though he has experienced that, but he won't be washing off his mind from the Ishtavritti. He will again and again come back to the Ishtavritti to enjoy the bliss of his communion with the divine, as God as the master, he is the servant, or God is the mother, he is the child. So this is the idea which Sri Ramakrishna is indicating. So this is a very high state. Sri Ramakrishna has gone through all those steps, and that's why so spontaneously he is very simply from his own experience. He has not read the scriptures. He has not studied the Patanjali Yoga Sutra the way we do. It is what he's speaking. He's speaking from his own experience. So now the Vijay. Now what he's asking, the next question. But those who discriminate according to the Vedanta philosophy also realize him in the end, don't they? Master, yes, one may reach him by following the path of discrimination too. That is called Jnana Yoga, but it is an extremely difficult path. I have told you already of the 7 planes of consciousness. On reaching the 7th plane, the mind goes into samadhi. If a man acquires the firm knowledge that Brahman alone is real and the world illusory, then his mind merges in samadhi. But in the Kali Yuga, the life of a man depends entirely on food. How can he have the consciousness that Brahman alone is real and the world illusory? So what Sri Ramakrishna is indicating is that there was a time where the sadhakas that used to go out of the society and intensely go on with that practice which speaks of discrimination, that I am the Atman, I am Brahman, I am not the body, not the mind, not the senses, I am Atman, I am Brahman. So this is the path of Jnana Yoga. How it takes us to the realization? Almost the same thing, that this I am Brahman, this becomes the Ekavritti. Aham Brahmasmi becomes the Ekavritti. And this Ekavritti also can take you to the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi through that intense practice. And when you are thinking yourself as you are that absolute, there is no question of relating to that absolute through devotion, because I am that. So when you go to that Nirvikalpa Samadhi, such a sadhaka, what he will do? He will try to wash off even that thought that I am Brahman and go to the state of thoughtlessness. That when the mind is thinking I am Brahman, who is thinking? The mind is thinking. The one who is in Savikalpa Samadhi with that idea that Aham Brahmasmi, that only one thought is there. The Brahmakara Vritti is there, but still the Vritti is there. Vritti is there means mind is there. So it is like that you are afraid of something, but you are saying I have no fear, I have no fear. But inwardly you are feeling that fear. So what it speaks of? It speaks of this Ativada. These words are very significant. It is in our Mundaka Upanishad. That is, they say that one who has attained Samadhi is Nativadi, na Ativadi. So his speech never transcends his experience. So at present what happens? Our speech is something which is transcending our experience. We don't have that experience. We are speaking of something of which we don't have experience. Even a man who is in Savikalpa Samadhi, with that idea, Aham Brahmasmi, he is actually Ativadi, that his thought is yet to attain that experience. Because who is saying? The mind is saying. But a state comes when that, as we told, that one thought at last becomes so intense, when that falls off. And then you realize what you are. You do not have to say that Aham Brahmasmi. That becomes your realization. That is something ineffable, we cannot describe. A man of attained do knowledge that through that practice. But for that, as we told, we have to separate ourselves from all worldly interactions, cut off from the society, and just spend hours in that type of contemplation to wash off all our, even that Ishta, even the so-called the Vritti, the Sadhana Vritti, the Brahmakara Vritti, that also has to be washed off to at last to attain the state of Nirvijaya Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So now Sri Ramakrishna is saying this is the age where the man entirely depends on food. It is a translation of the word. In the Bengali it is called Kolite Onnogato Pran. So that's the problem with translation. When we try to translate from the Bengali to English, sometimes it loses its meaning. If I say it depends entirely on food, that's not the idea of Annagata Pran. Annagata Pran means what? That we are in such an age where for our mere sustenance, we will find that our entire day is gone. Just to earn our bread from morning to evening, no time for us to keep some spare time. We're so busy just to earn our bread, we have to labor so hard. So where is the time to totally segregate myself from all the worldly dealings and just go deep into the samadhi where the society is there? Where can we think of that society that if I just renounce everything and sit down for meditation, just the society will be sustaining you? It's very difficult. So for most of us, yes, there are these ashramas, akhras are there. There are sadhakas, but Sri Ramakrishna is speaking for the general people. Is it possible? No, because you have to give your time for just attaining your livelihood. So here, the total washing off of all your thoughts, even your ishtabritti, sitting in meditation. Where is the time? So here, but is there no way out? That though nirvija nirvikalpa samadhi is the state, the final state from where there is no comeback. But as we were saying, that even if we have once went to the state of this samadhi matram, or a bit ahead of that savija nirvikalpa samadhi. Even once we have attained that, or we have attained savikalpa samadhi, the mind cannot come back again to the world of distraction. Why? Because through practice I have already washed off all the distractions. So though I haven't attained the highest, but there is no fear of falling. That also is a state of liberation, where though I am in the state of me and thou, but my mind cannot be tainted anymore with the worldly dealings. It remains in a state from where it cannot fall. So there is no question of falling from once you have attained a particular state. You have attained the state of either this savikalpa samadhi or the state of savija nirvikalpa samadhi, whatever it may be. From there is no falling off. So for that, we need not have to segregate ourselves. Even in our work, whatever we are doing, if we try to keep the mind in Ishta, gradually our mind can get cleansed, and through that we can have that intense focus in our mind where that becomes the habitual state and mind doesn't fall back from that. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is saying that though it is not possible in this age, it is very difficult to attain that state of nirvija nirvikalpa samadhi through jnana yoga, but we need not fear that we can stay in this state of duality, but that duality is only with that divine consciousness, and that's what Sri Ramakrishna is indicating. But in the Kali Yuga, the life of man depends entirely on food. How can he have the consciousness that Brahman alone is real and the world is illusory? In the Kali Yuga, it is difficult to have the feeling. I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the 24 cosmic principles, I am beyond pleasure and pain, I am above disease and grief, old age and death, however you may reason and argue. The feeling that the body is identical with the soul will somehow crop up from an unexpected quarter. You may cut a peepal tree to the ground and think it is dead to its very root, but the next morning you will find a new sprout shooting up from the dead stump. One cannot get rid of this identification with the body. Therefore, the path of bhakti is best for the people of Kali Yuga. It is easy path. In Jnana Yoga, as we even in the last class of this Viveka Churamani, that the verse which we were reading, the 115th verse, what it was he spoke of, that how difficult it is to get established in the Brahma Jnana. That one after other there are so many hindrances. What are the hindrances? 4 hindrances were spoken of. First is abhavana, then comes viparita bhavana, then comes asambhavana, and then vipratipatti. What's that? First, for most of the people who are totally engaged with the worldly way of life, discrimination never comes at all. They're quite happy with the worldly way of life. And again, among those, if some have heard of the scriptures, that there is something called self, we find that for most of us, we take our psychophysical existence itself as the self. That's the viparita bhavana. And even if we somehow can understand that self is something apart from the body-mind complex, that the idea that I can attain it is something an impossibility for me, asang bhavana. And then vipratipatti, that even if you have to a certain extent concentrated your mind to go to the state of that absolute, identification with the absolute, that something is almost not possible. So that's the vipratipatti. So in the path of Jnana Yoga, so one after other, we have to overcome these hindrances to at last get established in the Nirvija Samadhi. Sri Ramakrishna is saying there is no need for that. If somehow the habitual state of your mind becomes the state of God consciousness, where you are relating to the divine, that you are, I am, and I am related to you as a devotee or as a servant, then your mind, then there is no question of again falling back. So that's why in Kali Yuga, Sri Ramakrishna is that indicating that you need not go to that state. And then Sri Ramakrishna is indicating that the famous statement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that what? And I don't want to become sugar, I want to eat it. I never feel like saying, I am Brahman. I say, thou art my Lord and I am thy servant. It is better to make the mind go up and down between the 5th and the 6th plane. So as we have previously indicated, that what is the 5th and 6th plane? It speaks of the Kundalini, the rising of the Kundalini. From the first comes the Muladhara, the state that we have previously also studied, and this Muladhara, then Swadhisthana, Manipura. Manipura is in the navel, and then Anahata is in the heart, and then next is Vishuddha. The sixth is Agya. The 5th is Vishuddha, 6th is Agya, and the 7th is Sahasrara. First Muladhara, 2nd Swadhisthana, 3rd Manipura, 4th the heart, Anahata, 5th the throat, Vishuddha, 6th between the eyebrows is the Agya, and on the crown of the head is the Sahasrara. These are the 7 planes. So now Sri Ramakrishna is saying to keep the mind between 5th and 6th planes, to mind to go up and down between the 5th and 6th plane. What it speaks of? So that if you just are aware of these various 7 planes which has been spoken of in the scriptures, you will remember that when our mind goes to that Vishuddha, the throat, what the throat signifies? Our speech. So what it says, that as a human being, we have that capacity to express our feelings through words. So this Kundalini actually speaks of the various stages of evolution. The first 3 states, this Muladhara, Swadhisthana and Manipura, speaks of just eating and procreating, nothing else. These are the basic things common to all creatures, eating and procreating. So these 3 states, these 3 levels represents that. Then comes Anahata. Anahata speaks of emotion, the heart. So when in all these animals we will find what? That from bacteria to the human being, this is common. Eating and procreating is common. But the emotion, to grow emotions, that love, feeling, that we find is in the higher animals. So that's the heart. So as you evolve, the feelings come. Then from the feelings, as a human being, we develop language. The feeling is expressed through language. That's a unique human thing. That's on the throat. And then from the language, another thing comes. That if I say you something, that a person is not present. Suppose I'm talking to you, a person is not there between us, and I start speaking of the third person who is not between us. Immediately, as a human being, hearing those words, I have the faculty to visualize. That's still higher. That's between the eyebrows. Speech leading to visualization. That for other animals, they have to see the thing to really sense it. But as a human being, hearing the words, I can visualize and I can have a mental picture of it. So this is the thing, even in spiritual journey, that's the state which we are taking help. What's the fact? That after hearing about the Lord, I have developed a mental image of it. I have developed a mental visualization, whether it is a form or it is a concept, I have developed a visualization of it. So with the help of the word, I am going to the state of visualization. I am taking the nama, that nama is linking to the rupa. But still, so if you remember that when your mind has gone to the agya, you are as if vividly, when you are very focused, your mind is vividly visualizing your object of devotion. But Sri Ramakrishna says that, but still there is a separation. You are not one with it. So he is giving the example of a lamp. There is a glass cover enclosing the lamp. It is so transparent, you feel as if you can touch the light. And when you are going to touch the light, the glass, that cover, on that your hand strikes this glass case, and you cannot touch the lamp. What it speaks? Your ego is still there. You cannot become one with what you are visualizing. For that you have to go to the Sahasrara. So you will find that even with the help of this rising of the Kundalini, the same thing is spoken. It is always, as a devotee, always wants to move up and down from the 5th to the 6th plane. What it speaks? With the help of the name. With the help of the name. That's something which speaks of this language, pronunciation. That's the vocal. With the help of the name, you are going to the state of visualization. That intense visualization, when it is about to take to the state beyond visualization, again with the name, you are coming back to the 5th state. So the same thing, that with the help of the name, you are going to the Agya Chakra. When the Agya Chakra tends to take you to the state of thoughtless to Sahasrara, again you are bringing back to the 5th level. This, what is this? This Vishuddha Chakra. You are bringing back again with the help of the name. So with the name you go, again with the name. So you will find that when Sri Ramakrishna is in deep samadhi, the devotees are chanting the name and again he is coming back. That's the beauty. For us, we use the name to concentrate our mind, and for Sri Ramakrishna, the name helps him to come down from the state of that Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So that is what is being indicated by this going up and down from the 5th and the 6th, the 6th planes. So now again let us read so that this idea becomes much more clear. And I don't want to become sugar, I want to eat it. I never feel like saying, I am Brahman. I say, Thou art my Lord and I am thy servant. It is better to make the mind go up and down between the 5th and the 6th planes. So with the help of the mantra, going to Savikalpa Samadhi, from Savikalpa Samadhi, when the mind tends to go to the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the sadhaka again, not the sadhaka, everyone says, he is now already realized soul. This illumined soul again brings it back with the help of the mantra, thus to the state of normal consciousness. So this we can very nicely understand from the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Again and again, it used to happen in his life. I don't want to go beyond the sixth plane and keep my mind a long time in the seventh. My desire is to sing the name and glories of God. It is very good to look on God as the master and oneself as his servant. Further, you see, people speak of the waves as belonging to the Ganges, but no one says that the Ganges belong to the waves. The feeling, I am he, is not wholesome. So not only that the devotee keeps the mind in the fifth and the sixth, between the fifth and the sixth plane, going to the seventh plane he thinks is not something wholesome. Why is not wholesome? Because God in reality is both transcendent as well as immanent. What it means? That yes, that when we go beyond the mind, he is that absolute. It's fact. But it is he. I don't know how it has happened. That is ajnana. But it is he who is manifesting as the universe. If I just say that I am to get identified with the absolute, we deny the fact that the divine itself, for whatever may be the reason, that it is, I can never understand with my limited mind, with my mind which is within the domain of this time-space causation. It's impossible to understand that, to know something beyond time-space causation with the help of something which is within the time-space causation. The mind is within the time-space causation. How can it know something which is beyond the time-space causation? It's impossible. So I don't know how it has happened. But the fact is it has happened. So that's the meaning of ignorance is that. The meaning of the word Maya is that it has happened, but how I know it has happened? Because yes, it is my mind which goes from this world of phenomenal existence to that absolute. If it can transcend this, then it shows that from there it came down. But how it came, why it came, we can never know. We are not bothered about it. But a devotee understands that both are the same, divine. The one who is the absolute, he himself has manifested as the universe. When I want to merge in the absolute, I deny the fact that it is the same God who has become immanent. God is both transcendent and immanent. He is the one who is in each and everything, manifesting through each and every object in this world, each and every animate as well as inanimate object in this world. It is he alone who is manifesting. So that way I will be denying that fact. So that's why he's saying the feeling, I am he, is not wholesome. As Sri Ramakrishna gives that example, that if you want to have the weight of a fruit, the bilva trees, the bale fruit, the bilva fruit. So Sri Ramakrishna is giving that example that if you want to taste the bilva fruit, what I do? I will be removing the external covering, that hard shell, and once I remove the shell, there are a lot of seeds there. I remove the seeds so that I can have only the pulp. But if I just want to get the weight of what is the weight of that entire bale fruit? It's not only the pulp, the shell, the seeds, everything has to be taken together. So the God as the wholesome reality includes everything. How can I just say I have taken out the essence and the other thing I leave out? So that way it will be in Bengali, in gospel he's saying ojone kompor. In some other context he's saying that its weight will be less. It won't be of the same weight. So you have to take as a whole. So that's what's the idea. When you say that the feeling I am he, you're trying to merge in it, then you are not trying to relate to the divine in its entire aspect. So that's how the devotee sees from his angle the idea of not merging in the absolute and to remain in the state just a little low of I and he. And that itself is as good as liberation, because there is no falling down from that state. You can never slip from that because your mind is already pure. A man who entertains such an idea while looking on his body as the self causes himself great harm. He cannot go forward in spiritual life. He drags himself down. He deceives himself as well as others. He cannot understand his own state of mind. So that's the idea of this viparita bhavana that we've told. That you may constantly go on saying, I am Brahman. But that can be very harmful because that's not the real feeling. As Sri Ramakrishna in some other context say that mukhe bolcho, you're constantly verbally saying that I am Brahman, but even if a simple thorn pricks you, you shout out in pain. So that shows you're totally identified with the body. These words you're saying has nothing to do with your real feeling, and that actually causes harm because it is a type of hypocrisy. So, but to accept the fact that God is, I am a devotee. So there, that you are just stating the feeling. You are in no way speaking something which doesn't correspond to your feeling. That's why Sri Ramakrishna used to say, in spiritual life, the be-all and end-all of spiritual life is mon mukh ek kora. That bhaber ghore churi jano na hoy. Just see that your mind corresponds to your speech. There shouldn't be any theft in the realm of feelings. How nicely he's saying. So in every way, the path of devotion is safe, and it is a very safe and smooth path. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna is indicating. But it isn't any and every kind of bhakti that enables one to realize God. One cannot realize God without prema bhakti. That's the thing, intense devotion. Another name of prema bhakti is raga bhakti. God cannot be realized without love and longing. Unless one has learned to love God, one cannot realize Him. There is another kind of bhakti known as Vaidhi bhakti, according to which one must repeat the name of God a fixed number of times, fast, make pilgrimages, worship God with prescribed offerings, make so many sacrifices, and so forth and so on. By continuing such practices a long time, one gradually acquires Raga Bhakti. God cannot be realized until one has Raga Bhakti. One must love God in order to realize God. One must be completely free from worldliness and direct all of one's mind to Him. So this Vaidhi Bhakti and Prema Bhakti or Raga Bhakti. What it speaks of? So we discuss so many times that we say, be devoted to God. Love God. But if someone instructs me to love God, I cannot love God. Love is a feeling. So what I have to do? First I have to resort to Vaidhi Bhakti. I take a resolution that every day, this morning, evening, I will sit for meditation. I will try to keep my mind fixed on God. With resolution, you are practicing something again and again. And that way you are resorting to the neuroplasticity of your mind. That what you do again and again, what you repeat again and again in your mind, that creates a path. And once the path is created, you start loving it. You get obsessed by it. Then you don't have to take resolution. Then love has developed. So this Vaidhi Bhakti speaks of that. So that bhakti, any bhakti won't do. That first, as a novice, when I don't have that love, then go on practicing, though you don't feel, but as per the instructions of the spiritual guide, your teacher, your guru, go on practicing every day assiduously with perseverance, with patience. Go on practicing, go on practicing. A time will come, the devotion will well up. The path has been created. And now there is no fear. Once that love is developed, Prema Bhakti, that love itself will make your meditation more and more qualitative. How? Because real meditation can happen only through love. That example which we give again and again, that the mother never have to meditate on the child lest she forgets the child. Her love for the child always make her think of the child, whatever she may be doing. She may be engaged in so many activities, but a part of the mind is always with her child because that love is there. So love is the real meditation. So resolution, we think at present That resolution is meditation. I resolve to keep my mind focused. With that, we can never really have a fruitful meditation. That resolution has to get ripened into devotion. And then the real intense meditation is possible, which can take the mind to that state of ishta vritti, one-pointedness, ekagrata, ekagra vritti, and gradually washing off all the distractions, the sarvarthata. And it can take to that. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is saying that it is not that every kind of bhakti will enable us to realize God. Unless that love develops, our mind can never get really focused. That intense concentration can never come without that love. Even in Jnana Yoga, we will find Shankaracharya in Viveka Churamani have described devotion. That one who has love for Atma Chintana, constantly contemplating that I am Brahman. At the beginning, he also most probably with resolution was practicing, but constantly practicing that I am Brahman, I am Brahman. He develops a devotion for that type of practice, a love. Whenever he sits, repeats, he finds his emotion is getting saturated, is getting associated with his thought, is saturating his mind, and is making his mind more concentrated. So that is very important. Unless that emotion factor, the devotion comes into picture, there can be never true meditation. And unless there is true meditation, you can never go to a state of samadhi. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is indicating that it is not that every kind of bhakti that enables one to realize God. One can realize God, one cannot realize God without prema bhakti. Another name of prema bhakti is raga bhakti. That your heart is full of love for the divine. God cannot be realized without love and longing. Unless one has learned to love God, one cannot realize Him. We have to learn to love God. As in the Bhakti scriptures, nicely it has been mentioned that how to learn to love God, how to develop that love. That very nicely that it is being mentioned, that one line in Bengali it is there. Ei horinam nite nite bhakti mukul food bechite. Go on taking the Lord's name. Ei horinam nite nite. When we go on taking the name of Hari, the name of Lord, bhakti mukul food bechite. There is a bud of love in our heart. It is there. But by taking the name, when you go on taking the name, it blossoms. Then it blossoms. This bud of love which is already there in our heart, it is dormant. This potentiality is there to bloom into a 1,000-petaled lotus. It has that potentiality, but it is in the form of a bud. How to enable it to bloom? Go on taking the name of the Lord. So one has to learn to love God. And without they learn it, one cannot realize Him. So once we learn to love God, that love starts welling up from our heart. That makes our meditation intense, and then only it can wash off all the distractions and take us to the state of samadhi. And that's what is meant by realizing God. So with this, we stop our discussion today. We'll find that these words are so simple sometimes. While reading the gospel, we think, oh, Ramakrishna, such a simple word is speaking about bhakti and all. But it is actually, though he's speaking of bhakti, but he's actually speaking of all the states of spiritual realization that can be achieved. So once we have the scripture in the background of our mind and then read the gospel will really throw a wonderful light. Because so that's why it is our senior Swamis always say that it's not that just you have to read the gospel once. You have to go on reading again and again throughout your life. As your understanding becomes clear by reading the scriptures and by your spiritual journey, you will find that the gospel understanding is also changing. There are layers of understanding. You have to unveil all the layers one by one as you proceed in your spiritual journey. You will find these words appear to be simple, but it is extremely profound. So with this, we stop our discussion today. We'll continue with the remaining portion again in the next class. Thank you all. Namaskars.